Hey guys, Karan from Obi Scrub here, and I've got the S10e a few days after I received the S10 Plus. Now, I'm in India, so I've got the Exynos variant, and of course, it is dual SIM. I think the Indian models do come in that. Now, I've got the Prism White, which is why the S10e is written in white color. And the E, I'm not too sure, but I think it stands either for essential or for ergonomic. But yeah, I can't be too sure about that, but it is a device that's really convenient to hold, to use, and to put in your pocket. Now let's just quickly unbox the device and see everything that we've got inside. I know for a fact it's Prism White, so everything inside would be white in color in terms of, the phone and the accessories. Now that's the S10e right there. And it does remind me of a good time when phones used to be small and they used to, well, this is a 5.8-inch device. It's not really small, but compared to the flagships that come nowadays, and especially the higher up in the S10 lineup, it is smaller than that. And the white color also looks pretty fabulous, and we'll talk more about that in the video ahead. Let's move on to the accessories, and as I said, they're all white in color. It's the Prism White theme. That's the fast charger, so that's 15 watts of charging, so you'll get a fast charge. The OTG connector, so you have Type-C on one side and Type-A on the other. That's the Type-C cable, which you would use for data syncing and charging. Again, white in color as you'd expect. And lastly is the AKG tuned earphones. And again, white in color, so they look beautiful. And the entire setup is inside this matte finish black recycled box. So that's pretty much it, but let's go ahead, and I think there's something below the box. There you go. Inside, you'd probably find the case, which actually feels and looks pretty different. So let's just get rid of the quick start guide and all of that. There you go. Like, this is wonderful. I mean, it's really different, so not Samsung. We're gonna have to try that and see how the device looks. So there you go, guys. That's the Galaxy S10e, the most basic S10 in the entire S10 lineup, but it has the same processor and 6 gigs of RAM. The only thing is it's extremely convenient to use given its size. It's so pleasant to hold, really ergonomic. You would never complain of having a big phone. I mean, it's still a pretty big screen. It's 5.8 inches, but it just feels so light and so good in your hand, and I'm sure you're gonna enjoy using it. And whether it's basic or not, it does come with the headphone jack, so you can plug in your favorite earphones. At the back, you get a dual camera setup, which we will talk about a little later, but there is no heart rate monitor as you get in the S10 or the S10e. In the front, the earpiece is tucked in right at the top, and then there you see the camera hole punch. Also, the power and lock key functions as the fingerprint scanner, so there is no in-display fingerprint sensor on the S10e, but that's actually a good thing, and we'll talk more about that. And let me also talk about the casing that comes with the S10e. Now, I'm not sure if this is the case that's provided across the globe, but here in India, this is the case that we get along. And I have to say, it looks actually quite funky, even by Samsung standards. I've never seen Samsung provide any of these kind of cases, but it's a pretty welcome accessory to have with your phone, and it really complements the Prism White of the S10e. And I really like how light bounces off from between these holes that are there on this case. You can see how light sort of, it just keeps jumping from one hole to the other and kind of looks really good. And it covers the phone very well. So it really provides an all-round protection to your phone against various faults. So that was to do with the design, build, and the body of the Galaxy S10e. Let's turn this on as well, and we know it's running Android 9 Pie. It's got this layer of Samsung One UI, which a lot of people love and hate, but I think most people are really enjoying the One UI. Just like the S10 and the S10 Plus, the S10e also packs the same Exynos 9820 processor or the Snapdragon 855, one of the most powerful smartphone processors up to date, but in a form factor that's a lot easier to hold and use. The trade-offs that you'd have to make are the screen size and the battery life. I mean, sure, if you really love the in-display fingerprint sensor on the S10 or the S10 Plus, then it might be a deal breaker for you, but honestly, the physical fingerprint sensors work a lot faster. In the S10e, Samsung's doubled the power button to also serve as the fingerprint sensor, so as soon as you place your thumb, you have it going. Now, the only thing that you'd have to get used to is the positioning, the placement of that fingerprint sensor is slightly higher than it should be. But yeah, it's something that you just get used to automatically. But I have to say, it's amazingly fast. I mean, if you remember the OnePlus 6 fingerprint sensor, it was fast. And this, in fact, might be a tad bit faster. Plus, you can use it to pull down the notification panel and pull it up. So if that's something that you do very often, you can do that as soon as you unlock your phone. Now let me also talk about the Prism White a bit. It's all glass, but what really looks good is the way light bounces off it. It throws off this pinkish hue, and I think that sort of adds, a bit of class and sophistication in its own way. Now my experience with phones in white color is fairly low, so I really don't know how good this really is, but I do know that it's the easiest to maintain a white phone. It really hides, any scratches or micro scratches that might come, and even fingerprint smudges are not easy to spot. So, it just looks cleaner overall. Now, one thing I've noticed is that the S10e is not as bezel-less as the S10 Plus is. The bezels are definitely thicker, and that does let me down a bit because I love the infinity displays that, they go from all the way from the left edge to the right edge. And here's the S10 Plus alongside, just to tell you the difference between the infinity displays. You can see how bezel-less the S10 Plus is, and that's infinity display for you. Now, of course, in the S10 Plus, you do get dual cameras in the front, whereas you only get the one single punch hole camera in the front for the S10e, which, trust me guys, is more than enough. You don't really need the dual cameras. I've taken pictures from both the S10e and the S10 Plus using their front cameras, and in fact there have been times where I prefer the pictures taken using the front camera of the S10e. And now let's talk about the display. It's a smaller 5.8-inch display compared to the S10 and the S10 Plus, with a high resolution of 1080 by 2280 pixels, which is super crisp for a small display. You still get the dynamic AMOLED as in the higher variants of the S10 lineup. It is HDR10 Plus compatible, and just like you'd expect from a Samsung panel, it's the best, like hands down. They're the best and they continue to be. The colors are super amazing, really vivid, very saturated colors, just eye-popping. So yeah, there's really no downside of the display that you get with the S10e, except you cannot increase it to a resolution that you can in the S10 and the S10 Plus. So you could go to a higher resolution, whereas you just have the one resolution that you get with the S10e. And that's not a bad thing. Honestly, you wouldn't even know the difference, even if you place them side by side. It's really that good. Now, I know that I spoke about how it's not an infinity display, but it's not entirely a bad thing. I've been using the S10 Plus as my daily driver, and the curved screen, it often leads to accidental touches with my palm, and it gets annoying and frustrating at a certain point. So I think that's one of the positive side to not having an absolute bezel-less experience. And in terms of performance, I've already said you do get the same processor. The only problem being that you do get only one variant in the S10e, which is 6 gigs of RAM and 128 gigs of storage. So if you want more, which you shouldn't actually, but if you still want, that's when you do go to